Dann reagieren wir auf das Video Entire History of Broken Guns in Warzone. Speziell zur Verdanszeit, natürlich auch danach irgendwann, hatten wir auch einige sehr, sehr bodenlose Meta-Waffen. Ich bin gespannt, was uns erwartet.
Warzone meta, so let's take a look at the most broken guns along the way. These are the guns the devs messed up on.
Alleine, wenn ich hier schon die Dinge sehe. Wie heißt's? Jetzt fällt perfekt, der Name fällt mir nicht ein, scheiß drauf.
The guns that acted in a way that was not intended. Some of these guns only
Da haben wir eben drüber gesprochen, über die Farmers mit der Shotgun.
being available for mere days. With that in mind, you're not going to see things like the DMR or the Interceptor or like just like really meta-defining guns. Although they were very broken, they weren't necessarily game-breaking. Also, some of these guns didn't even make it to my history of the Warzone meta video because of how unorthodox they were. So welcome to the entire
SPX.
history of broken guns in Warzone. Right at launch, we had the snake shots, which we've talked about way too much on this channel, so I won't spend too much time here. You know the drill.
Stimmt, wir hatten die Snake Shots direkt am Anfang, ne? Das war so, glaube ich, ein Monat nachdem Warzone released wurde, war das halt Meta. Ich weiß noch damals, Marcel Scorpion einfach mit den Dingern nochmal zurück zu Call of Duty gekommen. Das war wirklich legendär.
In every iteration of Warzone at some point or another, they always find a way to mess up the snake shot ammo to just be insane with the damage range. Somehow ends up always being better than any shotgun in the game, which is just wild. Add the fact that they're semi-automatic, akimbo, and have wild hipfire accuracy, and you've got one of the most broken...
Boah, ist das geistkrank. Wie schön auch einfach die Map aussieht. Ich muss es immer wieder sagen.
Now, a season or two later comes a couple of patches, which always brings a handful of nerfs and buffs. One of which was the FAMAS, which was pretty much
Ich glaube, das Ding war so 1,5 Tage komplett broken.
useless in Warzone up until this point. They decided to buff the damage range amongst some other things. However, within this buff, somehow the underbarrel shotgun, specifically for the...
Das ist geisteskrank. Ich glaube, das war so ein Wochenende. Ich war nicht da. Und ich habe genau den Zeitpunkt verpasst, wo das Ding komplett OP geworden ist und konnte kein Video dazu machen.
Das
One-Shot. Ist das geistkrank.
If your first shot didn't down them, it really didn't even matter because the fire rate and the hip fire accuracy was also really good on this. But I would say the craziest thing about this is that it didn't even take up a weapon slot since it was an attachment. So you still had a fully functioning FAMAS for your mid-range engagements, which wasn't anything crazy, but was still
Ist das
pretty
geistkrank.
dang good. Then you had probably the Kar 98 as your secondary, and you were covered at all ranges. This was one of those things that did not last long at all and was a complete mistake that slipped through the cracks and probably
Ich glaube, es wurde nach einem Tag gepatcht oder so.
resulted in somebody getting fired.
Oktober 2020. Season 6. Was kam? Ich glaube, Season 6 kam. Was kam zu MP3 da
New
raus?
season means new guns.
Ja.
and
Ace Wall, jetzt habe ich den Namen auch. Ace Wall und SPX. Ich glaube, das waren zu Release eine der meist geisteskrankesten Waffenkombinationen, die es gab.
Season 6, we got the AS Val, which was a fun concept, kind of like an AR SMG hybrid type. But with that also brought a 10-round magazine that
Das 10-Schuss-Magazin, wo du konntest die ganze Map durchschießen.
buffed the bullet penetration to infinity. Now with the FAMAS underbarrel shotgun, I kind of understand how that one makes it to life since it's kind of like an unorthodox attachment that nobody really uses. So like, you know, maybe they just don't test it. And it was also a bug, like it wasn't intended to happen. So
Digga, du kannst alles kaputt schießen.
But with this, I
Guck
absolutely
dich an jetzt, wo der Typ im Hintergrund ist.
have no idea how it made it to
Er
life.
ist auf der anderen Seite der Map gefühlt.
How did it even make it to live servers? How?
When an attachment specifically says that it increases the bullet penetration, doesn't that mean you should
Dazu kamen halt noch diese Nades, die Aufklärungsnades. Das ist ja geisteskrank.
probably monitor by how much? I'm almost convinced this gun also like got stronger the more walls you were shooting through. I'm not even joking. There were also some absolute sick troglodytes who would run this with an M4 underbarrel like snapshot grenade launcher, which I didn't even know existed until this point. And if you shot this underbarrel outside a building, it would ping everybody inside, and then you just switch to the AS Val and laced every single person with these.
Das war schon eine wirklich bodenlose Meta.
Safe no matter what. What I liked about how they handled the nerf was they got rid of the bullet penetration buff that still made it a really viable gun, which is always fun to see because it ended up being like a pretty fun gun to use after this nerf. Also, a quick side note, while this gun existed during...
Abgesehen davon hat er recht auf jeden Fall. Also die Ace Wall war mit diesem Attachment, also mit diesem Aufsatz komplett broken, aber an sich war es eine coole Waffe. Sie hat halt eine kranke Time to Kill gehabt, aber nur ein 30-Schuss-Magazin.
actually unplayable. Seriously felt like you were in a hacked lobby because you would just get laced
Das
through
ist
walls
crazy.
every time you
Eigentlich eine
respawn,
coole
especially
Waffe
if you were
gewesen.
playing Shipment. Seriously, just a wild time to be playing the game.
Oktober 2020. Nochmal in der Season 6.
Crazy thing about the SPR is that it also launched with Season 6, alongside the AS Val. That means everything I'm about to mention coexisted with everything I just talked about with the AS Val. Everyone loves a new sniper, so when the SPR dropped, everyone was pretty hyped. One shots to the head and has pretty quick mobility, which was looking to compete with the Kar 98, which everybody already...
Ich kann, also wenn ich mich wirklich jetzt nochmal an die Zeit zurückerinnere, wie viel broken Stuff wir in dem Game hatten, ist schon wild, aber trotzdem nice.
This had all the perks of the Kar 98, but the only difference was the damn thing was hit scan. For those that don't know what hit scan is, it's when the bullet of the gun is a laser and essentially doesn't really exist in real time. It teleports across the entire map immediately, which means no bullet drop and no bullet time. So when a gun's velocity is infinite,
Das ist krank, du hast abgedrückt, konntest across the map schießen und du hast den Gegner getroffen.
It causes a lot of imbalance and also rewards a lot of people who have no idea how to snipe. I mean, seriously, hitting 300+ meter snipes was just like a breeze. The game honestly kind of turned into CSGO for a minute, since it was just like all you had to do was aim for the head no matter like how far away they were, which was just really broken.
Crazy.
And annoying.
Das war wirklich eine wilde Zeit.
Sniper, but just make it not one shot. Kind of like Warzone 2. That was the whole thing with Warzone 2. They were really easy to use. They just wouldn't one shot, but whatever. And looking back at it, this may have been the most unstable state of the game when you think of this existing simultaneously with the AS Val. There's also a theory that they
Es hat halt wirklich jeder AS Wall plus die neue Sniper gespielt. Das ist krank.
purposely make the new guns bugged and broken so it like drives up the battle pass sales, but I don't know. But Season 6, you're looking really sus. Now at this point, it's been about a
Vanguard Season 1.
year and some change since we've had anything game-breaking Warzone at this time, aside from the DMR, of course. But this blissful period would come to an end once the Akimbo double-barrel shotguns would make it.
Wait, aber ich glaube, diese Doppel-Barrel-Shotguns waren tatsächlich noch MW3-Waffen. Nicht MW3, Cold War-Waffen.
Appearance in Warzone.
Oder? Ich weiß es
These are pretty
nicht.
much the same as the snake shots, but the only difference is that they only hold 2 shots in each shotgun. They hit just as hard, if not harder.
Also wie viel noob-freundlichen Stuff wir in dem Game bekommen haben, ist wirklich insane.
And we're being completely abused since this was at the height of the rebirth.
Aber was würdet ihr sagen, ist für euch die schlimmste Meta-Zeit gewesen? Was war für euch so die Meta, die Waffe, die komplett für euch am schlimmsten war?
Craze, and obviously we know Rebirth is a very close quarters map,
Crazy.
so this is just what everybody was running. And
Das Ding habe ich halt wirklich komplett vergessen.
kind of like who would get the first shot off. That's all it was. Not even about aim, really. You think only having 2 rounds would make it at least a little better if you were on the receiving end, but that didn't even matter since it took like 2 seconds to reload. Also, if there was an award for the ugliest looking gun on this list, this would for sure take the cake. I mean, I get that the scope helped with the range, but seriously, like, what the hell is this?
November 22. Warzone 2 Launch. Wir sind schon bei Warzone 2 anscheinend.
For the remainder of Warzone 1's life cycle, there wouldn't be anything too game-breaking other than like all the
Stimmt, die Pistolen. Ach,
ridiculous Vanguard guns being very easy to use.
Two-Shot-Pistolen.
Which brings us to the launch of
Snake Shot mit SPR, ja, guter Call.
Warzone.
Stimmt, Warzone 2 war am Anfang schon komplett nicht gut, weil alles movementmäßig so gedroppt wurde und genervt wurde. Und dann hast du direkt so eine Meter gehabt.
The Akimbo P890s
Two-Shot.
were like the best close range option in the entire game. If you haven't
Gefühlt
noticed
immer
by now, there's
Two-Shot.
kind of a trend here with Akimbo and brokenness. I'm not sure how, but they can never get the Akimbo attachment right. In this instance, I'm pretty sure it was bugged to double the damage, but double the damage per gun, so in theory it was quadrupling the damage in total. This resulted in you being able to one-shot anyone who was fully plated as long as you hit both shots in the head, which mind you, that wasn't even possible for snipers at this point in the game, which was crazy. But even if you didn't hit a headshot, it still only took 2 shots, which was just like super broken. With a crazy rate of fire and also like insane hipfire accuracy, this was ruining endgames left and right. The amount of people who would run Riot Shield and just rush your building with confidence because all they had to do was just spam left and right trigger was so stupid. Thank goodness Resurgence wasn't in the game yet, because this would have been extremely annoying.
November 22, Warzone 2 Launch. Nochmal, also direkt wieder nach Release von Warzone 2.
Remember when I said at the launch of Warzone 2 there wasn't a sniper that could one-shot? Well, that was actually kind of a lie. The new Victus XMR at the time had a bug where if you put the explosive ammo, it could
Stimmt, die war ja One-Shot, ne? Boah,
one-shot.
hab ich auch wieder komplett vergessen.
I don't really consider this broken at all, but I thought it was worth mentioning since technically it wasn't functioning how the developers wanted it to. Like, they were super duper anti one-shot headshots. We can also sprinkle in the fact that a few months later, the incendiary ammo would also get bugged into allowing a one-shot with certain snipers, which again, I don't think is broken whatsoever, but definitely not what they had in mind. Also for fun, let's go ahead and mention
Am Anfang haben sie wirklich gesagt, es soll keine One-Shot-Sniper geben und am Ende gab es doch One-Shot-Sniper.
This was not a bug, this was fully intended. They added this for like a limited time mode. But this sniper one-shot no matter where you hit them. Head, foot, torso, it would one-shot down no matter what. After all these bugs, like towards the end of Warzone 2, they finally decided to make explosive ammo one-shot with as long as it was a bolt-action sniper rifle. Warzone 2 sniping was an absolute mess.
Juli 23, Warzone 2, Season 4. Ich weiß gar nicht, also... Was hatten wir für Broken Meters in Warzone 2? Ich weiß es actually gar nicht mehr.
Not much to say here other than the snake shot.
Achso. Wir hatten wieder Snake Shots.
I'm not really sure how this got brought back into the game. The only thing that was like extra sucky about this was Resurgence was in the game, so people were abusing this at all-time high. At least with Warzone 1, we only had Verdansk, so there was like minimal situations where you could use them, but who the hell let this happen? Now we're just before the Warzone 3.
November 13, nein.
Relaunch, where they would add a
die Lockwood, stimmt, die war ja auch One-Shot. Warum sind es immer Shotguns, immer Akimbo-Waffen oder immer DMRs?
Doom bundle, which was actually a pretty awesome blueprint that introduced like the dual trigger. The dual trigger would fire both shells at once and resulted in a one-shot down, but also like up to 15 meters. Of all the guns on this list, minus the one-shot sniper explosive ammo in Warzone 2, I think this is like the one I could tolerate the most. I don't really mind this shotgun being a one-shot since you had
Also sie war schon sehr broken, wenn du halt Solos gespielt hast, aber wenn dann halt wirklich Leute Stack gespielt haben, war es trotzdem schwer.
So if you missed your first shot, you were probably gonna die. The only like really game-breaking aspect of it was the range was just super ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, it was still very annoying to die before you even realized you were being shot, so I'm definitely not saying it should have stayed in the game. I'm just saying if a shotgun's gonna one-shot, this is the way to do it. Pretty much swing for the fences. If you miss, you're gonna die. If you hit your shot, great.
Dezember 23, Warzone 3 Launch. Ich glaube, was hatten wir für Broken? Wir hatten wieder eine Snake Shot.
Now we're at the launch of Warzone 3, where all the patches, nerfs, and buffs, and like new
Achso, die Shotgun war immer noch gut.
guns being implemented resulted in the Lockwood getting reverted back to the one-shot crazy range that we were just talking about, and the tier pistol, which was Modern Warfare 3's revolver, had its snake shot ammo bug to one-shot at crazy ranges too. I mean, at this point, we're kind of just beating it.
Es ist halt, wir hatten in Warzone 1 Snake Shot Akimbos, hatten, ich glaube auch auf Caldera Snake Shot Akimbos. Wir hatten in Warzone 2 Snake Shot Akimbos und in Warzone 3. Also wirklich überall sind diese Snake Shot Akimbos OP. Das Ding war halt, die Waffe war tatsächlich in Warzone 3 nur, ich glaube, 2 Tage maximal OP.
Super stupid. I have no idea how this makes it
also
back
wie kann das immer so passieren?
Last month. Even with all that had happened leading up to this, you'd think they would learn a thing or two about balancing shotguns. That obviously just doesn't seem like a priority to them. The only saving grace about this was that they were both vaulted out of the game entirely only a few days after launch, so it didn't last long whatsoever. However, I do think it's worth mentioning that in Season 1 Reloaded, they did bring back the dual trigger for the Lockwood 300, and they said it was fixed, but it just wasn't. Literally the exact same gun that it was a month prior. I don't know what they were doing in the downtime.
By the way, habe ich mit dieser Waffe auch meinen Ashika-Kill-Rekord gebrochen. Ich weiß gar nicht, wie viel ich gemacht habe. Ein paar Kills, über 40, glaube ich.
But obviously, this resulted it being vaulted
es ist aber trotzdem geisteskrank.
I don't even think it's in the game right now, if I'm being honest. But that is the entire history of broken guns in Warzone. Please let me know if I missed anything. Like I said, I kind of wanted to keep this like specifically to like bugs or exploits that like were not intended by the developers. But if I missed
sehr gutes Video, sehr gutes Video.
That wasn't, please let me know. Also, if you like this, check out my top 5 most hated Warzone metas. Also, be on the lookout for my live streams. I've live streamed pretty much like 5 to 6 times a week.
Abchecken. Warte, Video liken. Ja, sehr gutes Video, sehr gutes Video.